Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Woo woo. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Have a great show for you, a great juicy interview with a fabulous female stand-up comic, funny lady, Beth Stelling. But before we get to that, I want to go over some hot topics. The hottest one is I'm going to be in the NorCal area this weekend. I am doing a live Juicy Scoop with your favorite Chris Frangiola. We are going to kill it. We have so much juicy, funny stuff to discuss. Sacramento this Friday, September 29th. And then on Saturday, we're going to pop over to San Francisco on the 30th. Everything is at heathermcdonald.net, along with all my new Juicy Scoop merch. Check it out. I've got a Whatever Who Cares t-shirt on right now. And you go over to heathermcdonald.net and you're going to click on the Juicy Scoop shop and shop all the cutest fashions in the Juicy Scoop land. And of course, you're going to join my Patreon there. I got a real good one this Friday for you. Lots of questions being answered that you've been asking, and you can only hear them on the Patreon. Okay, so let's get into the writer's strike has ended. This is fabulous news for many of my writers' friends, but also for you guys who are missing quality shows. However, the SAG after strike agreement, that is still negotiating. But you don't have anything to film unless you have the writers write the script. So the fact that they're going back will be great. This means that Drew Barrymore will be able to go back to her talk show and we get to enjoy Ross Matthews on that. And so thank God she put a pause in that and did the right thing, because it was only a couple more weeks and now we're here. So you're going to see a lot of game shows, a lot more talk shows. And basically one of the things in it that was sort of interesting that they agreed on is the use of AI. And it really is just up to the writer. The writer can use AI if he chooses or she chooses, but also they can't say, the producers can't say to use it or not to use it. That's how I interpret it. But there's lots more details that, you know, I didn't have time to totally get into it, but I'm just really happy that's going to happen. And hopefully soon we'll settle with SAG and they can start having, I do feel like there has been a drop of like, where are my juicy shows? Where is my Big Little Lies type of show that I really want to watch? So hopefully everything will get back on track and we'll get that really quality entertainment that we have been dying for. So as Drew would say, I'm so excited. I am back. We did the right thing. I have fellow writers here to support me and do wonderful things together. She can crawl up in someone's lap while wearing a fabulous tan culotte pant and a smart boot. So it's all happening. Okay, let's get a little more into Travis Kelce. I'm now pronouncing it right. And his brother Jason. And what is going on with him dating Taylor? Well, it all comes down to, I wasn't aware that he had a podcast. Of course he does. Who doesn't? Even my dog has a podcast. Shirts available, heathermcdonald.net. And so he's had it, though. He's had it for a year. Like if it launched yesterday, I'd be real suspect. But I guess they've had it for almost a year. And he and his brother, you know, they were the brothers that went against each other in the Super Bowl, which is the cutest boy-mom story that ever lived. And Taylor went and watched the game with the mom. And so much has happened since. She was eating some chicken, dipped chicken in a ketchup and what people wrote seemingly seemed like ranch dressing. So now Heinz has made a combo of a ranch ketchup dressing. Everybody's getting on this. His jersey is like the top 5 most popular jersey to purchase. And he's, you know, his podcast went to #1, though I think it was doing okay, pretty good, because they talk about football and it's football season and they're brothers and whatever. So, but he said, hey, I'm not going to talk about, you know, my relationship, whatever, but it's going great, something like that. Now, I said before he had this show called Chasing Travis or Chasing Kelce, I think it was his last name. And And it was, him finding love, like The Bachelor or whatever. And he had this girlfriend and that he got from that. And they dated for 5 months. And now she's going to the outlets and being public about it, saying, hey, girl to girl, Taylor, he cheated. And once a cheater, always a cheater. So everyone's like, many of her songs came from broken relationships. So will he be written about? Is this even a real relationship? Or did she just want to go to the game and have some fun? Also, there was some really funny video of someone pushing out like a big, tall, like popcorn machine at the game. And people definitely thought she was in there because she's been known to do that, like hide in like suitcases and things to get out of areas because, of course, she is so popular. So how will the Swifties react if, in fact, they ever break up? Will his life be over or what? But I love her song Karma. And I was thinking, I really can't. I'm going to come up with a song. It's going to be pretty bad, so get ready. But I was driving over here listening to it. And I was thinking of the words that she would say if it doesn't work out between the two of them and they actually date for like a significant amount of time in which there could be a heartbreak involved. And so it'd be like, I went to the football game, sat with your mom. Then what happened? You talked about it on your podcast with your brother. I can't believe it that you did this to me. Swifties are like, Heather, I hate you, but whatever. Okay, now here's a couple things that could happen with this relationship. Hit album comes out of it. There's some football references. There's some like, I thought I threw the ball, but you tossed it back in my heart. I don't know. That sounds country. This is bad. Anyway, I just want to say what the juicier thing will happen is if, in fact, she writes an album about, writes songs about the breakup, and then he jumps on that, piggybacks on that, and has her exes come for one-on-one exclusive podcast interviews. And now they finally tell their story of how annoying it was to date Taylor Swift or what she did or how they felt left out. And they're like, hey, I'm not a songwriter, but I can pop on a podcast and be your guest, Travis. That could be juicy. Meanwhile, Britney is dancing around with these knives. And then she said, it's just Halloween knives. Don't worry. I'm doing the Shakira dance. What's weird about this era of her is that she is like the biggest fan of music. Like she posts things like, I love Shakira, I love Madonna, whatever. But people heard the knives clang. I don't think that Britney has the ability to like add like an audio sound effect of clanging knives and is thinking, oh my God, I'm going to put this video out and people are going to think I'm actually dancing around with knives and I could hurt myself. Then I saw photos of like that she might have cut herself and had like a wrap on her arm. But now I'm thinking maybe I dreamt that and maybe someone made a meme of that to be funny. I hope she's okay. She also showed video of the book being printed. So I cannot wait to read that book. I will be reading that book on day one. Her mother, who's 68 years old, I can't believe she's that old, but I guess that makes sense because Britney is over 40. There was an article written that she is back being a substitute teacher. And the way they wrote it was, oh my God, Britney's mom, since the conservatorship left, she has to go back being a substitute teacher. Okay, I think that's a pretty great job. And I think for a 68-year-old woman that wants to stay busy, I think that's a perfect job. It's not every day. It's not the full commitment of, keeping a classroom going all year and everything. It's not an easy job, but it's a job that you can occasionally do. And you know what? She shouldn't be living off her daughter. Whether her daughter is a doctor or Britney Spears or whatever, that never should have been her livelihood of living off her daughter. So I say, go be a teacher. I don't think it's so sad. Okay. It's kind of a weird story. Katy Perry, ex-wife of Russell Brand, wife of Orlando Bloom, is in a real estate trial. Let me explain. So she and Orlando and their realtor bought a house from this man, Westcott. He is the father-in-law of former Real Housewife. Well, former because it was canceled, but Dallas. This is Cameron Westcott. She was the really tall, pretty blonde that always wore pink, who was married to Westcott, her husband's last name, who was much shorter than she. They live in Dallas. They're rich, but his family is like from Santa Barbara or something. So, or they have a house in Santa Barbara. Her father-in-law, who is in this real estate fight with Katy Perry, he created 1-800-Flowers. So he's very wealthy, but he's very sick. And he has this disease that makes him very frail and also affects his brain. And he's very old. And he says that when he was out of it on painkillers from a back surgery, their realtor came and sold. I don't know if he was not represented or if this realtor represented both of them. I'm not really sure because I'm like, did you list your house or not? Normally, you would be listing your house and there'd be enough time to take photos and whatever for you to get out of your coma of having back surgery or painkillers and say, you know what? Stop. I don't want the open house on Friday. I don't want to sell my house. So those are the details. I'm not sure. But he says he signed this contract between himself and Katy Perry and did not, once he got his wits about him, said, I don't want to sell my house. I didn't want to sell my house. And this was done under duress. Well, they are saying, no, we want the house. We want this house. And they are going to trial. And Cameron and her husband, I think, are going to go to the trial in his place to try to keep this beautiful Santa Barbara estate, which they want. And what they say about land, they're not making it anymore. So I assume this is a really fabulous house and they're not willing to give it up. And the other Katy Perry real estate story I remember that we talked about was how she was trying to buy this house from these elderly nuns up in Los Feliz in the Hollywood Hills. And they were going back and forth fighting about that. And I'm not sure how that ended. So she's kind of getting a reputation of finding really great real estate by elderly people that may or may not want to sell it. So that's pretty juicy. Meanwhile, Cher had a weird thing happen. They're saying, Entertainment Tonight said, Cher allegedly hired 4 men to kidnap her son, Elijah Blue. His name's Elijah Blue. So this story is very weird. According to Elijah Blue's wife, they are going through divorce. And in the divorce filings, she tells a story of how a couple years ago, they were working on their marriage and they decided they were going to go to New York and spend some time in this hotel room and just really focus on their marriage. And while they were there, 4 men came and kidnapped her husband and took him away from her. And I don't know if that's and they were hired by Cher, allegedly. And I don't know if she's saying that they did that because Cher was worried that he had a drug problem or that Cher was the ultimate, overly involved mother-in-law and was like, this wife's not good for you. Get these men, get my son away from this bitch and get him back to my Malibu mansion so we can hang out together and eat s'mores. I don't know, but it's kind of a strange story. Let's talk about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. It was on last night and I just need to fill you in. Never has there been a cast that has hated each other more than this season of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Literally, nobody likes each other. Nobody has each other's back. It is so crazy, but it is entertaining. So they're in Palm Springs at Trixie's motel, and she is a big drag queen, and she's wearing her fabulous wigs and everything, and they're having fun, and it's so super cute. Well, they're not actually having very much fun at all. So now they go, well, we're going to do this trust building thing. I hate trust building activities with Real Housewives. It's so dumb. It's so boring. And, we're going to blindfold you. We're going to match you with the person that you hate the most and see if you can trust them to lead you through these hula hoops or whatever. Meanwhile, Mary, the church leader, she's just like, no, I'm not going. No, I don't like activities. I'm just going to sit back here and be by myself. I'm staying in the Sprinter van. Deal with it. So Meredith is like, okay, Mary, it would have been nice if you would have joined us, but I understand you don't have to. I don't know what Mary has on Meredith, but of course the rest of the women are like, why the fuck do we have to jump through hula hoops? And you literally don't. We are literally jumping through hoops and you get to sit in an air-conditioned van by yourself and look at your phone. we're all getting paid to be on this stupid show and ruin our families' lives. Why do you just get to sit here by yourself? Like, this is really unfair. So they get back to the van and Lisa's kind of like, why? And everyone's like, why aren't you? And Mary is so rude. She's like, don't talk to me, Lisa. Don't talk to me. And then Whitney's like, but it would have been fun. We missed you. And she's like, don't talk to me, little girl. First of all, nobody missed you, Mary. They're just pissed that you got to sit in the van and they didn't have that choice. So they're just getting annoyed. They're like, why are you here? She's here because she wants the paycheck, because she's not getting the paychecks anymore from her weird church that closed down, which I visited, which was scarier than shit. So then they said, well, tonight, Whitney goes, I'm taking over the fun. And we are going to dress in drag, and we're going to do our own drag makeup that Trixie's going to give us, and everyone's going to have to do it. Well, Lisa starts having a panic attack, and she's like, no, I don't like that. I don't love that for me. I brought my own glam. I spend about $60,000 a year on glam. I have my girl here on retainer. I spent $2,500 flying her out here and paying her for the weekend, and she's going to do my makeup. We'll do it a little draggy, but that's it. And I don't want any, they break the fourth wall. They see the producer. She's freaking out. I don't want to dress in drag. And then Meredith was like, well, I'm not going to either. Okay. You traumatized my family. And I don't want a heavy wig on my head because I had a throbbing headache. And Whitney's like, I don't believe that it's about your headache. And I don't believe that you had some mother-in-law's child who's sick. And then Meredith looks at Whitney and she's like, how dare you? How dare you talk about a child you don't know? And that's how the weekend ends. And then they have to get on a flight that night after they drank all day, wore heavy wigs, yelled at each other. Absolutely nobody likes each other. And then go to like some other bar and drink. Then they have to get on the Sprinter van, in which Mary didn't go to the bar either. She didn't wear the drag. She didn't jump through hoops. And then she didn't even go to the bar. She had the Sprinter van take her to McDonald's. I'm hoping that Bravo got some money from McDonald's. I know they do a lot in these shows. So maybe it was a win-win. And that's why the producers put up with the fact that she doesn't want to do anything. They're like, okay, if you're going to stay in the van, you're going to ask for McDonald's so that we can collect our, $100,000. So she got McDonald's while they fought with each other at this bar. And now they have to hop on a plane at midnight after wearing drag makeup all day and a heavy wig and fight with each other to get home to Utah. Oh, Sister Wives. Oh my God. The best part was that I found out that Janelle and Kody actually screwed a lot. I think they had a lot of sex, and he really doesn't want to lose Janelle. But Janelle is like, I have nothing, Kody. I have nothing in my name. I live in a tiny apartment. You don't want to hang out with my kids. And he's like, yeah, but you and I, when we were in the cul-de-sac in Las Vegas, like I'm like, oh my God, they were boning all the time. And then she's like, I don't know. I miss Kody. I miss him in my bed. And then he goes on to say, Janelle was only interested in me and my pecs and my abs because I have a really good body. And we find out that Christine said, I left the marriage because he wasn't sexually attracted to me. He never wanted to have sex with me. So he never had sex with Mary, really. But he also really didn't with Christine after she had all her kids. She said it was pretty sexless for the last 10 years. And Christine is, they're all the girls are attractive. He married them all, but he likes to have sex with Janelle, and he likes to have sex with Robin, but she doesn't want to be left alone with him and his pecs and his curly perm. Oh, okay. Now you guys, we are going to, don't forget, we're going to watch The Golden Bachelor. Chris and I are definitely going to be covering that at my live show. So make sure if you're in that area, there are still some tickets left. Go to heathermcdonald.net for this weekend. Watch The Golden Bachelor. And now for a really fun, juicy, insightful interview with the hilarious Beth Stelling. Today I'm featuring a funny lady. Who's ready for a funny? You guys ready for a funny female? Beth Stelling has a Netflix special out October 3rd. Welcome to your first time at Juicy Scoop. I've been a fan for a while.
I'm so happy to be here.
And I was excited to see that you
I can't believe
made it
I'm
to
in
the
the
big time.
seat. I usually just watch people here.
And by big time, I mean as a guest on Juicy Scoop.
Yeah,
not having
of course,
a Netflix.
of course. I love you. Who's ready for a female? I'd fuck her. It's like, what? We don't need to know that. It's so gross. It's like a highest compliment.
It really is. No, I'm really excited. I love your stuff. You've done a lot. Tell us a little bit just to familiarize your stuff. I know you've had a couple specials.
Yes.
Is this your first Netflix?
This is I have a half hour on Netflix from 2017. I was part of that first round of half hours they did.
Okay.
Called The Stand-Ups. So I'm in that episode 5, season 1. And then I had a half hour on Comedy Central before that. That was my first sort of special.
So how long have you been doing stand-up? When did you start?
16 years, 2007.
Okay. And how did that come about?
I was a theater major in college.
Where did you go to college?
Miami University in Ohio.
Oh, fun.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you go to again?
I went to USC.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
My audience is so sick of hearing that I mention that a lot. And just there's just a lot of stories about my life that involve it. And I'm still here in LA. So it's just, sorry that it's the best. Whatever.
They do teach a stand-up class now. You know that, right?
Oh.
I went and got to say hello. They invited me.
Do you know how much that infuriates me?
That you haven't gone?
Of course they wouldn't ask me.
Okay, well, look,
but
I'll
you
get
know
you
what?
in.
I have done a little bit. I always thought it would be so exciting to be asked to do anything at a school. And it actually isn't.
I know.
And
it's hit or miss, which seems so stupid to say, like, it's good or it's bad. But I've had some very good times at colleges. I went back.
No, but like not just performing, but like I'm saying like when you're like a speaker or a teacher, like career day.
Okay, I see what you mean. Well, you mean even just doing what I did, go talk to the stand-up class?
I think I'd be kind of into it. But like, I don't know. It's weird when I've done like high school students and stuff. So I did my all-girl high school, and that was a bummer because it was on Zoom.
Oh yeah,
and
sometimes it's hard.
And they had the masks.
Oh, gosh.
I had to be on Zoom, even though it was down the street. I'm like, I could do it, you know. And so then I just see them with the masks, and they're wearing their like, you know,
uniforms,
like their uniforms and stuff. And so I don't know if they're laughing or anything. And I'm trying to tell them stories.
Already hard.
Already that sucked. Then I did my son's all-boys school.
Brave.
And that I pretty much liked.
Okay.
You know, like I was happy that he was there, but it's weird when you look out and they are just kind of like, and then if you have eye contact with them, it's kind of weird because they're just weird kids.
Yes,
they're not like a normal audience. It's just a very strange thing to do.
Think about it when you go to a college, like who's coming to see the comic? I know you're talking about more like a speaking thing.
Yeah.
But it's not seniors, it's freshmen. So those are like, the seniors are out doing stuff. The freshmen are 18. Some of them haven't lived much of life. So if you're saying like anything that is adult, they're like, I don't know, are we laughing? You know, they don't know how to just feel it themselves. They're like, is this what everybody's doing? So like that's a weird aspect of it.
Yes.
Not knowing themselves.
The few times I performed doing stand-up, at a college, I thought they're going to want to hear like sorority fraternity parties. No. I then went back like during my Chelsea Lately days and did it. And they loved all the mom stories about my kids because they're like, oh my God, that's my mom with my little brother. And so then I told people that. I go, they're so young and innocent.
Yes.
Don't do the drinking sex stuff that makes them feel uncomfortable. It's better just do some like clean, family relatable, fun stuff, not so much sex.
Yes. I know. It's just like tough to know what to do. And I guess like you're saying that makes perfect sense, like about a sibling or themselves or something. But like, since I've been doing it, I mean, I'm getting older, so the distance between me and them is getting, it just varies when I'm going. I think I haven't gone to a college now, I think, in a while, now that I think about it.
So tell me about the USC stand-up show that nobody has invited me to do a special class, which I said I would do it.
They are dying to get you in there. I know it for a fact. So it's Wayne
really
Fetterman. You know that comedian, Wayne Fetterman?
Yes, of course I know him.
He teaches the class. Just text his ass.
Well, I don't have his number.
Okay, well, you're going to have it after this, and I will say it on the pod. So he just said, hey, you want to come talk to the class? I was like, great. And so really, they did ask questions. I told them about my career. Advice? Well, here's the thing. My advice is always this. some app could come out tomorrow called like Ding Dong and you guys blow up and I'm opening for you. I was like, I can tell you what, I made it, but it involves like printing headshots. So it's sort of like, it's not applicable to your life. So I always say that I can tell you how I got here, but also everybody's story is different, which is why I love reading comedians' autobiographies.
Me too.
I love it because everybody's path is different. Now, and time is changing and all the apps are changing and there's different ways to get an audience. And I don't want to crap on those ways, but I only know my way.
Right. I always remember from Steve Martin's.
I loved that book.
That it was Second Show Fridays that made him quit doing live stand-up.
Late Friday, everybody's been drinking. They worked all day. They're tired. And I'm already like the Sarah McLachlan of stand-up comedy. So they're like just falling asleep to my voice. I'm like, hey guys, what's up? And have you had a good day?
Now, okay, so you went to college.
Yeah,
and then how soon after college did you try stand-up?
I tried stand-up my senior year of college. I kind of crashed a music open mic.
Did you always kind of fantasize about it or dream about it as a kid? Or
I never refer to myself as like a student of stand-up because I didn't adore it growing up. I loved certain comedic actors, Whoopi Goldberg, Martin Short, whatever, Wanda Sykes, Chris Rock, Ace Ventura, not Robin Williams. I love how I said Ace Ventura, but we all know I meant Jim Carrey. Point is, I liked funny movies and stuff. And it wasn't until my senior year of high school, because I was doing speech and debate. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
Okay. I was doing humorous interpretation. So I was being funny from my freshman year of high school to senior year. So I had that single performer feeling of what it's like to get laughs from a group, even if it was a classroom on the weekend of a high school or in high school. So then my friend in speech and debate burned me Jim Gaffigan's CD. And that was my first time listening to stand-up comedy.
Oh, really? So you didn't watch like specials and stuff on cable TV?
We didn't have cable. I had a single mom.
Oh my gosh.
I was a teacher. And then we got a stepdad for a little while and he didn't let us have cable.
I always say that I apologize because right now there's a big flex in saying, you need to be poor. You need to be poor as a kid.
Here with the elitist.
So we did have cable and I really fell in love with stand-up, which was a show called A&E, which was a network. Evening at the Improv, and they shot it at the Improv on Melrose.
That's cool.
And that's where I saw Ray Romano and all these people.
I loved everybody who loves Raymond.
As a kid. So I did get to see it.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
And I'd stay up late and watch Joan Rivers and stuff.
That's cool.
But you're younger than that. So I don't know.
I didn't really, my humor, I just got to see through movies.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that when I first started stand-up, I was not like my heroes, really. I was it came out of me fairly subdued, subtle, and dark. I don't know how to explain it, but
that's good.
Yeah, it was just I thought I would be more like animated or something, but I liked that CD of Jim's. It didn't make, and I think he's an excellent comic, but at that time it didn't like make me fall in love with stand up. It just made me go, is that something I could do? I don't know. And then I decided to go to theater school, which my school was not known for theater, but that was a benefit because then I got to perform a lot because it wasn't very competitive.
Yeah.
And I did a bunch of plays and a musical, and I was in Birds, Aristophanes' Birds. That was my first play in college, and my mom came to see it. I was in like a full tan bodysuit. My face was painted. I was playing an emu, and my mom is like the most supportive person in the world. And she came up to me afterwards, and she was like, "Are you sure this is what you want to be doing?" I was like, "I don't know, man."
So then when you graduated,
it wasn't until senior year that I kind of crashed a music open mic because I started coming home. I live with a bunch of girls in this house. All the houses at Miami are named in a fun way. So ours was named Tequila Mockingbird. And I lived with like 7 other girls, and I would kind of come home from class and stand in front of the TV and make them laugh. And so my friends really were very encouraging of like, you're so funny. What if you tried stand up? And so that was like how it started. And I crashed a music open mic. My first time doing stand-up, it was truly like 50 of my friends coming to enjoy me. And so it was a great experience.
Yes. Okay, so we have a lot of similarities. So that is why I wanted to be a stand-up, because I was in a sorority house. And I would the hot night going out was Thursday nights. And Friday morning would be Friday Morning with Heather. And like, I would literally recap the whole night of who hooked up with who and like act out things. And I remember one time these girls were like, oh, did we miss breakfast with Heather or whatever? And I was like, how can I make this a job? You know, like I was just like.
What were you studying at USC?
I was communication, which at the time I thought it was a really kind of dumb major. It was like, honestly, it was sort of an easier one. But I was like, well, I can't be the business major because it was like too much math.
Yeah,
but I took like a marketing class and stuff. But then halfway through, I realized I really wanted to do this. I admitted it because when you're from LA, it's like embarrassing to say you want to be an actor.
It's hard to put yourself out there in general, whether you're from here or not.
And so then I was like, but I'm too far along, so I'm not going to change majors. But I took like for 2 units character acting, 2 units the improv class, 2 units LA at Night, which the Groundlings came in and like did a performance.
That's cool. Was it anybody you remember from that Groundlings?
Not in the little group, but I did start doing Groundlings. And I remember my sorority sister said, oh, tonight's class is the Groundlings. Heather, this is something you would be into. Like my friends, like your friends, like kind of knew what your talent was or whatever. And then figuring it out and then enjoying like, how do I make this a thing?
Right. That's the hardest part.
So then when did you come to LA?
I came in 2011. So I started stand-up in Chicago. After college, tried it a little, moved to Chicago, thought I'll do theater. Had a couple bad auditions. I mean, me doing a monologue, oh my gosh. It was like so nerve-wracking. I remember auditioning at the Goodman Theater, which is one of the best theaters in Chicago, and I really biffed it. It wasn't like terrible, like I embarrassed myself, but I did in my own way.
Yeah.
It was just a bad audition. I did one play in Chicago, and then I thought, I don't want to come to rehearsal to get paid barely anything to do a play I don't really care about. So that's when I started taking things into my own hands. And I said, I'm going to write stand up. And I used to like sit down and write it. I don't do that anymore.
I did too.
I would like sit, because I would write a monologue basically.
Also, I was pretty good typing.
I feel pretty good about it too. I still feel like I want to be a secretary if things don't work out. I love organizing and typing things, phone calls and having a headset.
Yeah.
That would be cool. But yeah, so then I went to Chicago, was there for 4 years, and had good success there. That's how I got snagged by Robbie Perrault for Just for Laughs. That's the big
new
face of comedy.
I'm just letting people know. Yeah, yes, in Montreal. Yeah,
yes. So that was my big break. I would say that was the impetus for me moving to LA. So that was 2011. I was a new face, and then I've been in LA since. I lived in New York a little bit because I wrote on my first writing job was Crashing, which is a show about stand-up.
Yes, I love that show. I didn't know you wrote on that. I did know that you wrote on that.
That was my first writing job. That's how I, there
were some really great moments in that show that were very realistic to stand-up. But I still feel like stand-up was the hardest thing to sell to a network about a career.
As a woman.
I mean,
we have Grace Under Fire and what else? Roseanne,
no, she didn't play.
But this is what I mean. But like
they never want you to. They like never love seeing the career of stand up, and I'm like, that's what's so funny. And like, I sold 2 shows about my life, and both of them were like, we can't have you be a stand up. You're going to be.
I know
there are different things. Oh, you're going to work out a TV show. You're going to be a newscaster, or you're going to be a makeup artist to a star, or like it could never be. Yeah. And I'm like, but that's what's so unique and funny is that I'm this mom that's doing stand-up and my kids see what I'm doing. And just like Seinfeld, like, why can't that be? But they must have done enough studies or something or why they think that like people at home
like watching women.
Not necessarily women, but they don't really understand the niche and the humor of the day-to-day. But people really did
latch on to that show.
I liked it.
Like a lot of comedy fans love that show. I guess
I was a little confused that I felt like, how old is he? That's what I was confused by.
For sure.
Like he was like playing like a 22-year-old, but he was like
Short
40.
And Clifford.
Yeah, like it was.
And he's like going down the aisles.
Yeah.
Yes, I totally understand.
But I liked just the stand-up, but I wonder if it's a little too of a small. Like sometimes when I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't really want to do stand-up anymore. I'm like, I don't want to stop doing stand-up ever because it's such a small percentage of people that can actually do it.
Yeah.
And once you get to that place that you can pop up in there and talk for an hour and do pretty well at it, like, I think you got to keep it up, like, because it's just such a unique talent that
if I take too long a break, I can still feel the nerves, or I'm definitely off. I don't feel like I'm in the groove.
Popping,
But you're right. It's definitely something I wouldn't. I've taken breaks. I've needed to take breaks.
Yeah,
for sure. And there are times where I felt very, very done with it. Particularly after my last special, I was just really done.
Why?
I think it was the timing of it. Came out August of 2020, and
that's when
Pandemonium. What?
That's when I brought up my special.
Yeah. So
I thought it would be like a hit because everyone was bored and at home, but I'm like, no, it really.
I think they were
wasn't.
really bored at home and didn't even want to watch anything like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I think if we had really seen at the beginning, which is when they planned to, but I was early days on HBO Max, and I'm not famous, so they did not market it at all. And I'm not just blaming it on that. Like, I don't know what would have happened, but like they didn't. I'm not on a billboard or a side of a bus. Yeah, it was just on there.
And then how did they say, guess what? Your time has come, girl. Netflix is a call-in.
This I produced myself. This last special I produced myself.
But they bought it.
Thankfully. Yeah, I licensed it to them. So I produced it myself in December of 2022 and was just like, fingers crossed here. And I did one take because it was my hometown theater of 1,100 seats and aforementioned, not famous. So I could not sell Dayton, Ohio twice. 200 people.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of factors.
So just for people to know what you're talking about is normally when you do a special, you film 2 shows in one night just so you have it.
Thing to do.
Yes and no, though. Okay, so I know a couple of people that have done the one take, and then after just like a sitcom taping, if something flubbed up, if you went blah 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 or whatever, then they're like, hey, just stay seated for a minute. Heather's going to come out and just say, and then my son said, happy birthday.
Yes.
Okay, we got it.
And they always are so surprisingly on board for that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
The crowd is.
So
I took maybe one thing, like, and this is how I say it. Like, I did that.
Oh, so maybe because you kind of were editing yourself, you like, let's start again.
But also like hair, like how you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
There's a couple places where there's one like this, and it eventually goes down. Thank God it worked itself out. My hair looks like I work at a mattress store, and I just spend the whole shift testing them out. But I like it. I never try to really just let it be.
So yeah, I produced my special myself, but nobody wanted it.
Yeah, well, that's
so nobody wanted it. So then I just put it out.
Course, though. Let's be real.
So then I put it on the Amazon Prime, and we did put it out like somewhere in first season. I call it like first, second, third season of COVID. It was somewhere in the first season of COVID that I put it out, and it was fine. Like my Juicy Scoopers supported and bought it, but like as far as like any kind of press or like bump of people discovering who I am, no, it didn't do that.
I know,
you know what I mean?
And it is interesting when that happens. I will say, like we talked about, my first thing on Netflix was the half hour.
Yeah.
When you're on the road like we have been and kind of did the classic way, gathering fans can be like drops in a bucket. And then maybe your time on Chelsea was like a big pour.
Right.
And for me, that half hour was a big pour. It kind of got me out there. But then they didn't want my hour after that.
Yes.
And I went to HBO. So, I don't know. Also, similarly to what you're saying, I also didn't like. I did get good press, but it's not like it changed much. Is all.
Yeah.
So it's like even if you had gotten some like, I had the New York Times. I got best debut special, and still HBO was like, no.
Yeah.
Like no extra help.
I was always
they were like, we actually don't know her.
I was always like yelling it to the rooftops of the industry people of like, listen, there's a lot of female comics that you've heard of. And there's a bunch that are now, you know, if they have kids, their kids are little, they do their specials when they're pregnant, everything. Mm-hmm. I go, but I'm the only one that's walking around telling stories of actually raising like school age, high school kids.
That's true.
And, you know, so I'm like, this is like a unique thing.
It is.
But nobody cared. Like, well, sometimes nobody was like, no one thought that was like, and like, I'm like, isn't this an interesting story? And they're like, no. Yeah.
But that's the thing. I know I've said it now 3 times and it makes me seem like I'm some sort of like angry I'm not an angry feminist. I'm a feminist. But it's one of those things where I keep saying this because I had a podcast with my mom. It's called We Called Your Mom.
Yeah.
And my mom and I would call my friends' moms. Like we would have called your mom. And it was fun. And like, the people who love it, love it. But eventually when I got canceled, they were like, I guess there's just not an audience of people that like moms. You're just like, what? I mean, so this is what I mean. It's like they genuinely just don't want to hear it.
What
I
do
don't know.
Think? So
maybe I should have been. People at home were like, maybe it should have been better. I don't know.
And tell me about your experience as a female comic. What have you loved about it? Everyone says, is it hard as a woman?
Right.
Like there are those things that I think with me, it was always like, okay, it's a lineup because I started in LA. So it's a lineup of 8 people. It's going to be 6 guys. At least 1 or 2 will be not white, and then there'll be 1 girl.
Yes.
Okay, that was in my day.
That was my experience
That was
as well.
in my day, yeah.
Particularly.
And so, like, you wanted to be friends with other females, but at the same time,
you were either always across town from each other,
or it's going to be you.
Or it was a little competitive
because
it's
you
sort
or
of
me.
one at a time.
It's going to be you or me, and you have brown hair now, and I kind of have brown hair. So we cross each other off.
Yeah, we cancel each other out. But the thing about that, I will say, like, yes, it was still like that when I started.
Yes.
Things have definitely changed in Chicago for sure. But doing the math on that are the odds, right?
Right.
Someone goes to see that show. If you don't kill, they don't leave. It's 5 guys on that show aren't great. 2 of them are amazing and they love them.
Yeah.
And you don't do well. They don't leave there saying men aren't funny.
Right.
But the odds are against them. If you did the probability, men wouldn't be funny.
So
if you did the probability, but it's just you, and women aren't funny because they saw you. So it's just frustrating in that way.
I never thought of it that way. You're so right.
Yes.
With the women aren't funny.
It's frustrating.
Yes.
And then women only talk about sex. Like the stereotypes are what have bothered me the most.
Okay.
When I first started, I had these little rules that I was naive about, which were I'll never take a set list on stage. Now I always do, just how I am. And
You'll never take a what?
A set list on
stage.
What is that? I always have
a set list.
Yeah.
I thought you said a set list, and I thought it was some new
I mumble sometimes.
Drug that would make you calm down or something that I wasn't aware of. A set list.
No.
I agree. I do too now.
That was my rule, but I don't care any longer because I am performing for you, and if I want to look down, I will.
Yeah.
2, I said I would never repeat a joke. That's something I just didn't understand. These are just my little rules I thought of.
Repeat a joke in the...
Meaning, like, I thought I would just always do new material.
Oh,
which is hilarious.
Okay, yes.
And 3, never hook up with a comic. Those were my rules.
Uh-huh.
And then my other, general idea was that I wouldn't talk about sex because I was so annoyed by seeing sort of, more exhibitionist behavior. It was oftentimes I felt like at the open mics, it would be sort of, when they are talking about sex, less of a joke and more like, he fucked me in the butt and poop was everywhere. And it's like, oh no. This is just more of like a tale that's not really has jokes. So eventually I obviously really got over that because I became a good joke writer. And even my last special, after my half hour, it took me a long time to be okay actually with writing sex jokes. That's a long time into my career. I'm not saying I never did. I'm just saying for a special.
Well,
because that special has a lot of sex jokes in it. But I just had to get over it because I was like, I wouldn't have to keep talking about it if they were good at it. So I guess I just got to keep talking about it, I mean, if men were good at sex.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, I'm going to keep talking about it and making jokes about it. And if they're good jokes, they're good jokes. It doesn't matter the subject.
Well, I don't think there's any problem with talking about sex either. But I had the same feeling like after I'd been around for a while and then I'd go see like a new crop of girls or whatever. And this was probably like 15 years ago. I was kind of like, all right. And my advice to younger comics was like, start out clean.
Yeah.
Because the dirty is easy. But coming up with a really funny story that, about doing laundry with your immigrant grandmother that's unique to you and whatever. That's a story that no one can steal.
Yes.
That, it's not a Tinder joke. It's not an, anal sex joke. It's like a joke that
original.
And if you get on TV, you could use that. So then as you get better, the luxury of being good at the craft is that if you do want to be a little dirtier or whatever, then you can. But if you start out that way, then there's nowhere to go.
Yes.
So I think that is good advice.
Yeah. And
anybody.
I feel like I agree. And I did that, I think, for a long time. And then I was just like, screw it. I'm going to kind of talk about what is frustrating me.
Yeah.
Because then you can turn that into your fascination and make something of it or whatever, have it be cathartic in that way or helpful to someone else. But
yeah, there's some of your stuff that's really funny that I was talking about was like, did you really get the tattoo on your back of your boyfriend's name?
Yes.
Where on your back?
I did it right above Groundlings, over by Groundlings. It's like
it was where the tattoo place is.
Yeah.
Is it still there?
Mm-hmm.
And where is that guy today?
He is a realtor in Cincinnati, Ohio. He's happily married with children.
So he could have a bus bench, or he could have the back of your body to advertise property of. Actually, if you want a hot property or property of Joe Schmo.
I should have him lease out the other spaces on my back.
Exactly, and make a profit.
Little commission.
Do you think you'll ever get it removed or changed?
No. I like it. He was a good guy.
Oh, so he wasn't a bad boyfriend. That's good.
Yeah, he was a sweet guy. He was someone
Was he
I
with
loved
you when
in
you
college.
got it?
No. I started
So then
dating
how do you
him.
spring that? That could scare someone if it wasn't as serious.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, hey, guess what? What?
I know. He loved it. I mean, he thought it was hot.
Yeah.
I think we were very in love, and it was kind of funny too.
Yeah.
You know, I had just moved to LA and he lived in Cincinnati. He had lived out here first and I would visit him. Then he went back home because I'm from Ohio too.
Yeah.
And then I moved out here to try to be a comic. I was working all these jobs and it was like we did long distance for 3 years out here. My first 3 years in LA. So early in the days of me out here, my friends were like, let's get tattoos. And I was like, all right, I'll just get that. So he did love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, now, I mean, you know, it ended up being a good joke.
It was funny, your joke about it.
And it kept growing. Like, that's kind of my favorite. That's the beauty and the mess of filming a special. Because you can write tags for years or expand a joke for years. Because initially it was just sort of, this is the kind of commitment you can expect from me.
Yeah.
And then in the last special, I was like, do you know how hard it is to get laid with another man's name on your back?
Right. Because that's, I mean, all the
it's
things.
not hard at all.
Well, now the next part of it is
the list underneath.
No, but also like, also not a great idea. You could really scare a guy away.
It's true.
You know, like, this psycho got my fucking name.
Yeah. I know, but I'd known him since college.
What about a face?
His face?
No.
I think I would change that by now. But faces are hard to tattoo.
Wait, if this was a cheesy sitcom and we were writing it, I think it has to be, okay, here's the sitcom. I'm my brother. I'm the boozy, fucked up aunt or whatever, raising the kids because, of course, my brother is a widow. So that's always the way it is.
Of course, my brother's a widow.
And you're the guest star. And he just got his real estate license. We're really hoping it's going to be. We make a couple selling sunset jokes, a couple things like that. And then he's like, yeah, I met this, you know, I'm like, you were out late last night. Lucky auntie got the kids off to school. I was with this girl, you know, that's our second date.
Did I roll out of the closet?
Yeah.
Like,
and then like the second act is then you show up and you have the tattoo that's like John Miller will, you know,
Remax.
Remax is, you know, from condos to castles, John Miller can do it all. And you put it all on your back and you're like, what's up, lover? Or worse, you're like, I have a better joke you go, I'm getting my real estate license too. Look what I got. And it's the two of you as a couple, a real estate couple, billboard on your back tattoo. And then he's like, what do I do? Wah, wah.
Run. He would run, you would say. We need a restraining order.
Right. So you could get into that. Yeah.
I am on a billboard like that and it says divorced ? And I'm dressed as a lawyer. And so is John Phillips, who was the other on-set writer on the movie Good Boys. We were the punch-up on-set writers for that movie. So we're in the background on a bench and it says divorced ?
Oh, in the movie. In the movie. Oh, I thought, oh my gosh.
Yes. So I have put myself on a billboard on a bench.
I was on bus benches when I was a realtor. My parents were realtors and they had a bunch of bus benches, never their faces, just their names. And then when I got my license, my mom goes, will you just go down to Target and get something for us? Will you just go? She's being really weird. I'm like, all right. And so then when I went to the Target, which is right here, and I turned around to leave the Target is when I was waiting at the light and saw my bus bench. And that was my gift.
That's very sweet.
Heather McDonald welcomes you to Woodland Hills.
That's very sweet.
It was, but it was also like, I don't really want to be a realtor, but it was a good thing to do while I pursued stand-up and acting.
Yeah, I was going to say that does seem like a pretty good.
And that is an interesting gift that someone would get you, which is just
Please
the least.
tell me that you've put a special or a juicy scoop on that bench since.
I have not done the bus bench
you
thing.
You have to bookend
Maybe
it.
I should write that down. Just even if it's just
next
for like
special, you laying on the bench.
I thought about when my special came out because I remember Kathy Griffin paid. The story was, I don't even know if it's true, that she bought her own billboard for whatever amount it was, which I've looked into it.
Yeah, how much is it?
If it's on Sunset, like the hot spot, it can be anywhere from like 25 to 100,000, depending on which one it is for the month.
Okay.
Whatever. I'm sure it changes with the economy. That she did her own, and the price I remember hearing is 50. And I was like, that is so badass. Like that's her, that she jokes about the D-list. She has to do it all. Like fucking, and then so there was a moment where I'm like, do I do this? Because it's one of my like dreams. But then I'm like, okay, I don't live that close to it. And next thing I know, the month will be over.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be down that money. And was it really worth it for me just to drive? I'm like, am I just going to go and like bring a Chinese chicken salad and have lunch by it every day? And then like, oh my God, it's September 29th. Yeah, September 29th. They're good. And then the guys come and they start putting they put Beth's poster down now. And like, yeah.
That I also had to pay for.
Yeah.
And I'm like, move it. It's my time. This is my billboard now. You got to move out. I had someone Photoshop one for me. Because there was an empty one in Hillhurst, which was my neighborhood in Los Feliz.
That is so smart. Why not just do that? And then just put.
And so,
hold on, I'm writing that down.
I posted it.
Why do I even have to do it? No one would even know.
No one would know. You just yes. I did
it. Put it on Instagram.
And
that is so smart.
Yeah.
If I was a better woman, you know how some people start charities or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This might actually happen. Okay. But another female stand-up might steal the idea, and I'm okay with that because they'll be paying for it. I should say, like, if I was like, maybe in a couple years when I'm like even an older, more anti-type, I'm going to say, everybody, I bought the rights to this billboard for the next 12 months. And every month I'll be featuring a different female stand-up and their special.
That would be amazing.
It's never going to happen.
We know some people who could do it.
No, just kidding. No, it could be a really great idea.
We need someone who's wipes their butt enough with money to do that. I think we can think of a few.
I think we can think of a few.
Yeah.
And if they want to do that, they can take the idea for themselves because at least I have this clip to know that I came up with it first. But I'm fine with them spending the money and doing it and getting the accolades of truly being women support women. I support women.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Please give me a billboard.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you always ask for one, and HBO Max was like,
but then I also thought, I'm like, if you were to spend $50,000 on a Sunset Boulevard billboard, wouldn't $50,000 on just online hardcore marketing, all the algorithms, get you so much further?
I think probably.
It really would.
Yes,
it's the ego of like.
It almost feels like it's definitely the ego.
It's the ego, and it's like also I think even like 20 years ago. There were real movers and shakers and agents driving around, going to lunch in their suits and stuff. And now they're not. Yeah. They're either like working from home or they don't really have the power. So like that's who would see it kind of.
Now it's comics on their way to the store.
Yeah.
The comedy store. The grocery. But yeah, no, also it benefits the networks though. That's why who they choose to do it for.
Right.
You know,
of course.
They want a famous person.
Yes.
They're with us.
Right. I love it. Oh, and I should put your thing. This is your special.
That's the
special. Now, how did you decide your outfit? That's always my hardest decision of what to wear doing stand-up. And you did a classic girl comedy outfit.
Hamlet.
Black jeans, boots.
On black.
And a black T-shirt.
This was panic. This was last minute, maybe 15 before I go on, freaking out. But I was lucky enough to have Tan France as a friend give me some options of what I might like to wear. And he gave me great ideas. And I took none of them.
What were some of the ideas?
No, he did suggest these boots, which were a great suggestion.
Yeah, because you're comfortable.
Love the boots. And we consulted. Like, he's so lovely at his job and very good. So I said, like, I think I might like to wear a skirt in this one, and gave me so many great options. I did try them on. I tried them and I felt good in them. In fact, this week I've been just wearing some of them. One of them is this really fitted jean dress. I got so many compliments and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Did you wear it on stage?
Yes.
Okay.
But I wore none of his suggestions in this because last minute I just panicked. There was so much going on.
Yes.
I just needed to feel comfortable. And it was jeans and a t-shirt. And I felt like I packed so much I shot this in my hometown. I felt like I packed so much, but then all of a sudden it's like I have nothing.
Yeah.
And what looks good on camera, and you can't wear any sort of
logo. Yeah.
And so this is what it ended up being. I don't think it's terrible. It's very stagehand.
I think it's such a hard decision. In both of my outfits, like that for my specials, I went with jeans and one had a sparkly shoe, one had a sparkly top. I'm still happy with both of them. However, my first one, the jeans were like too long, and why didn't I get them hemmed, or why didn't I think about that? So it like bothers me when I see them. But I think it's just a really hard thing to, and then I see other people now like wearing dresses and skirts and all this. And for the first time in my life, I'm almost too old to even wear a skirt. I'm just now wearing skirts and dresses on stage and being more glam, because
I thought you always maybe would have.
No, because I always thought when I started, like,
I'm in the same boat as you.
Legs are like distracting, and I want them to focus on like the comedy and everything.
Very true.
And then once I got in my groove of like, this is what I'm comfortable wearing, then you just want to be comfortable, like in your and having jeans on or some type of pant is more comfortable. Yeah.
Yes. Heels never work for me on stage. Oh my goodness. I feel like that's asking to bomb.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I can wear a heel, but it is more comfortable. When I've not, I've been like, I can't believe I just started wearing tennis shoes or like a flat. I can't believe that I've missed out on life like this.
By wearing
heels all these years.
Yes. I mean, obviously I wish you could go back in time for that reason alone, but
okay, so you said you dated a comic.
Yes.
How many what is your relationship with dating comics? Has there been a bunch?
Refuse to be happy. No, you can convince yourself of anything. You can say it's great to date a comic because they get it. They get I'm out. Yeah. We get to riff together. It's like, or you're both unwell. Yeah. I think it works for some. I think very few, I guess. There's less comic relationships that last a very long time.
Yes.
I mean, let's be real. When someone introduces you to someone they've brought around to a club, you're like, 7 more times and then I'll memorize your name. Like a comic dating women. Yeah, it was interesting. Speaking of Kathy Griffin, she just did a video and she was like talking about the Russell Brand situation. Okay, I haven't seen that one yet.
Her video? Oh, she just was like, and here's the thing with female comics. She's like, there aren't many of us, but like, we don't, she goes, here's a couple things that are different. We don't bring like an entourage of people with us. And I think that's also true about writing material. When people would say, oh, do you write your own material? And I'm like, yeah. And there was that one time when I was like, saw that like Kevin Hart brings a bunch of guys with him. And he has people, in my opinion, it is my opinion, what I've heard, so don't come after me, that he utilizes other writers to help him with this act, which I think is a really smart thing to do. How are you going to come up with a new hour?
Especially when you're living a limited life that doesn't necessarily relate to an audience.
Right. But then I also think that's smart. But then I also thought some of the jokes of one of his specials felt inauthentic because it was about having good credit or bad credit. And I was like, okay, Kevin, it's okay if you want to tell a story about when you were 19 and broke, and it's an authentic story of when you're 19. But like, you can't be talking about like, I moved the money over here and then I moved the money. And I can imagine him hanging out with these friends with him. And this guy who's a funny guy is probably telling the story. He's probably an aspiring comedian or not at that level. And they're all dying laughing. And he's like, make that a bit for me. And the audience did all laugh.
Yes.
And they all will come back to see him. But I'm like, there aren't a lot of women. Like, I can't go, hey, let me gather up some moms of boys. Can you guys get in the RV for 2 weeks? Because I need a new hour and I need to hear all your
mom bits.
Yeah, your mom bits and about your sons and about your husband farting. I need some new fucking bits here. So get on the RV.
Let's go.
Where are my girls at? And then after the show, you guys are going to go out into the audience and get me some fresh dick to bring back to the hotel, but you're not going to tell my husband. And, and then we all get back and what stays on the road happens on the road, stays on.
Yeah.
Like it's a completely different
very
thing.
different.
No, instead we're by ourselves.
I've never hooked up with someone after a show.
Never.
I would never. I don't feel like dying.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like
or dealing with a man and talking to him for what? I just talked to you for like an hour. And when people are like, "You want to hang?" I'm like, "I think I said everything."
I remember one time Margaret Cho had a bit in her act, and she's out about her sexuality and bisexuality and everything. And now maybe this didn't happen after a show, but the way she told the story, I imagine it happening after a show where she went and had an orgy or a threesome with these people. And she was funny the way she was telling it about, she said it was like spinning plates, having to like do all these different things. And all I could think about was like, why would you want to do that after a show? Like all I want to do is get in my place, triple lock the door.
Yes.
And then like take a shower.
Snacks,
get in my bed, stay up till like 3.
Yeah.
Because you can't ever come down from the high of being so funny. And but like, I was like, oh my God, the last thing I want to do is like have a sexual encounter with like 2 strangers that were sitting in the audience.
I think the key word is unreliable sexual encounter. Like, I don't know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Also, we're on the receiving end. We are entered. Like we're just like a dark cave. And if you have bacteria, it's sticking with me, not you. It's just sort of like we're left with it.
Yeah.
I'm just not into the risk, and I'm not into, it sounds like callous, but I like connection. So I don't want to hang with a stranger. I don't know. I can't rely on.
Right. You're right. You know what? That is the difference between men and women. You know what difference between men and women?
Men are always going like this. And women.
No, but it really is true. I mean, it doesn't really matter. And I think and also it's always really interesting when you figured out things like that about in life, when you look back at a relationship and you're like, oh my God, like you thought of it, the relationship with the guy so much more significant and meant so much more. And then even if you like meet them later in life or you reach out to them and they're like, what? Why are you contacting me? Like, who the fuck contacts someone after 30 years? And you're like, I thought you were madly in love with me. Like, no, you were just one of many. Like you were just one and you liked me for a minute until you didn't. And then I like moved on. It's like we're always going to reflect on it differently.
And I also think too, we're thinking about things a lot more.
Yes.
And of course there are always exceptions to the rule. Like I have always been in touch with my first love's family. Like whenever I'm doing Sacramento Punchline, I stay with them. And I've always been close with this family. And we had a great early relationship. It was like my first love and person I lost my virginity to. And it was a positive experience.
Does he have a wife now?
He's had a wife.
Well, how did the wife feel when you were staying with the in-laws? Like, that's so annoying. The funny girl. I mean, I don't think there's anything more annoying.
That's a funny thing.
Like, think about anything more annoying than that. Like, so what's going on, Jen, this weekend? Well, Brad's ex-wife, she's a stand-up. She's doing the punchline and she's staying with his parents. What? Oh, yeah, they just love her. She gets up there and talks about how their son de-virginized her while I'm fucking, trying to make this marriage work with this dick. Oh, wonder why I don't like the in-laws. That is awful. Think about it.
I promise you it's not. He married somebody else, not me.
I know, but how did you ever hang out with the wife?
She came to a show too. Heather. She loved it.
No. She loved it, but she hated it. She was like you're funny. Listen, she was probably like, you're funny, but I wish you weren't this funny.
You think?
Yes.
Okay, well.
Nobody is in love with their husband's ex-girlfriend.
But it was high school. That's
all right,
so long ago.
He divorced that woman then?
He was married once, they divorced, and then he married again to this woman. And I actually don't know the status. I saw him when I just did it in April, and We did get in the hot tub together, but I
with the wife or not?
She wasn't there.
Oh, this is so great.
No,
I definitely don't think any wife would be annoyed by a single funny stand-up special girl in the hot tub with the guy that de-virginized her. And my in-laws love her. Now, did any of these wives give him kids?
No kids.
Okay.
There aren't kids involved.
All right.
But she's pursuing her dreams, actually. She's
wife
doing
number
very
2?
well. Yeah.
Are they still married?
I think so, yes. Yeah. But I don't know where I was going with this because you really had a hot take. What a juicy scoop, Heather.
I just am saying, I think sometimes it's kind of interesting because you have no intention of ever getting with this boyfriend again. And the parents love you and you love that. So like I'm just saying.
His dad was like a dad to me growing up.
But I'm just saying, I think this is sort of an interesting perspective that women sometimes have to put themselves in someone else's shoes. Because your intention was never to break up any of his relationships. Right. Because you were like, what? It's the same feeling of when a girl is friends with a guy and she is like, he's just my friend. He's just my friend. He's just my friend. And then when he does make a move, you're like, excuse me. Look at you. Look at me. We're always going to be just friends. Why were you such a... And you're like, because I was nice to you for a year and a half and bought your meals and took every phone call. Like it's just kind of interesting to put yourselves in different points of view.
I hear that. Yeah. And yes, you're making me laugh, but I will say that when we reconnected, the reason I think I brought this up was because we hung out more than we normally would because he has been in relationships. He did keep his distance from me. But now that they're kind of apart right now and whatever they're doing, we did spend a little more time together.
If something happens.
I will text you if something happens.
If something happens.
In bed, I'm going to send you a video.
And then at your wedding, we shared this clip.
But I was going to say he was emotional too. Like we left each other that weekend and realized like how important that relationship actually was. It was very formative. I mean, a first is a lie.
Do you go to your high school reunions?
It's this weekend, Heather.
Are you going?
Yes.
Well, I would hope so because guess who's going to be the fucking star? So what is this? What year is this?
20th.
Okay, 20. That was such the best one for me. However, I did have a bit of a bummer.
What?
Chelsea lately had only been out for 6 weeks.
And had you been on yet?
I was on it, yes. But only like a couple people there were fans and knew.
Okay.
Everybody else just was like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, this is your husband. Oh, you have 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. Only one guy's wife was like, I'm a huge fan. Like only one. And I'm like, if
we just needed to be a year later. If the reunion was
just, even 1 or 2 years later,
it would have been a introducing the band.
Different thing.
Yeah.
But this next reunion...
was there a 25th or what?
I'm doing something else.
You're not going?
I'm not.
Okay.
How come? I just feel like I wanted it. The weekend fell on a weekend that actually I could get together with my sorority sisters instead. That was the only weekend they could come out. And we're going to my house in La Quinta. And like, that's the only weekend that like my family doesn't want to be there. And I just was, and I said to God, I said, if this is the only weekend they can come, then that is you telling me that's what I should do.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't go to this. And then I know you often refer to Joe Rogan, but I did say, do you think Joe Rogan goes to his high school reunions anymore? I don't fucking think so. No, if it was a different weekend, maybe I would stop by. But I also feel like, I've done, and it's right here.
Yeah.
Like I grew up here.
Yes.
So I still see some of these people. Some of these people are parents.
They kind of know
There's
what you're up to.
no big like.
Plus, you can kind of know more than you've ever known before about
because
what people are up
Facebook
to.
And all that, and Instagram from 20 years ago. That's what ruined it. Like my tenure, nobody knew what was up with anybody, and all I wanted to do was talk to my one friend who was married and living with her husband in Modesto, and I had no way of getting a hold of her, and I wanted to talk to her because that is this famous Lacey Peterson case. Do you know the Lacey Peterson case?
I do.
She knew them.
Oh my
But back then I didn't know how to get a hold of her because it was pre-Instagram and stuff.
You were back. You were getting the juicy scoop back then.
I wanted to. I did get some after. She did say they were the fighting couple and she'd see them at the country club.
He was the police officer.
No, that's a different Scott Peterson. This
is the boat.
Yes, killed his pregnant wife. Though there is some, there's always been speculation if he didn't, but he had the massage therapist girlfriend named Amber.
Oh God.
And then while he was talking to her, he was kind of the inspiration for the movie Gone Girl.
Right. Okay.
With Ben Affleck.
I've seen it.
So anyway, he's in San Quentin, but whatever. So
he did go to jail for that.
Oh yeah. And he's still trying to say it wasn't me.
I just am like, why? I mean, obviously he has to be unwell, right? Because my question is always like, just get a divorce. What are you talking about? Killing somebody? That's when I'm like, he has to be unwell.
Right. Basically, his thing was like, the only defense could really be this. My wife was pregnant with our child. I then met this other woman and told her I wasn't married and that I was a widow, but that, where she had a little girl and I was acting like I was the perfect boyfriend going to be the husband to her, the father to her kid. During that time, I came home and my wife had taken the dog for a walk and never returned. I was, worried about her, but you know what? I was kind of happy since I didn't really want to stay married anymore. So I was like, this is not the worst thing in the world, but I didn't kill her. Not the worst thing in the world.
I didn't look for her.
Meanwhile, I'm pursuing the other girl who doesn't have a TV. So she has no idea what's going on in the world. And until finally one of her friends is like, the guy that's on the news is in your Christmas photo. Do you realize?
Is putting your daughter to bed right now.
Yeah. And so then they tape the phone calls. And then as he's at the vigil on New Year's Eve in Modesto for the missing wife who's pregnant with his child, he calls her and he's like, oh, I'm in Paris right now. The fireworks are going off. It's so beautiful. I can't wait for us to come here sometime.
I can't believe this mess. He's unwell. That's the answer.
So anyway,
he's unwell and he did it because in my opinion, I
think he did it,
I want to get out of this.
It is such a juicy case. It's like one of my favorite cases to like revisit because whenever somebody comes up with like another theory,
okay,
there are some other good theories out there. Like there were these two or three other pregnant women that like went missing. And I think they were Mexican. And so it didn't get the press. But it was very close to their neighborhood. Okay. And their street looked nice, but like 2 blocks away, it wasn't nice.
Did they find her body?
Eventually they did find the body.
Okay.
Which went up on shore like 9 months later.
Because part of me is like, okay, if it's pregnant women, wouldn't that not be to get the babies?
Right. So they were like, so the theory is she was kidnapped because they wanted the baby. Somebody wanted the baby, or it was a statistic. What do you call it?
What's your last wish? And
she said, or like
in a boat.
Or like we're gonna whatever sacrifice. I don't know. There could have been we want to get the baby and sell it, or we want to do something sacrificial, whatever.
Okay.
But did then something go wrong, and she died or whatever, and then they put it out there so it would look like he did it. They set it up. Or there was also a robbery across the street that day. And because she's a little feisty thing, like my friend said, did she go, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing? Seeing the robbery happening. And then they snatched her and smothered her, whatever. And then didn't know what to do with her. And then set her up and threw her out on the boat to make it look like it was him because he went fishing by himself that day.
He did go fishing that day?
Yes. So they think he killed her that night. He put her in the boat. He went fishing. He dumped her in the boat, came home, and then was like, oh my God, where did my wife go? But then there were people saying, I saw her walking that day. And other people saying, well, there's other pregnant women walking around. Maybe it wasn't her.
That's true. Wow, This is a lot.
I don't know why I got so in. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite crimes. Dane Cook got married.
Yes.
Didn't know how you feel about that, Charmer.
Longtime girlfriend.
He's 51. She's 24. They met when she was 18. She just happened to just have turned 18.
Yeah.
When she went to his game nights.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they were checking IDs at the door.
Yeah, but they've been together and they got married in a place that was very significant to them because they spent so much time there in their relationship.
Where was that place?
Just Hawaii or whatever.
Oh,
I don't know.
Not a playground or anything like that.
Yeah. And anyway.
Yeah,
I had one exchange with him and he was kind of a dick.
I don't think I've crossed paths.
So when
I was part of that, I was at the exact age when...
Who's having the game nights?
No. And I wasn't invited. No, when his album came out in college, I forget if it was Harmful as Swallowed, and it was huge. And we were all listening to it. So I will say I'm having that memory in college. I mean, I didn't look up to Dane Cook or anything like that, but I thought that was very funny. So that would have been another exposure to a stand-up comic because I wasn't really...
There's things about Dane Cook that I think are really interesting and cool. Like I remember he was like the first person that used social media to gain an audience through MySpace and get people to come to shows. And he also was like, I'm just going to rent out this arena and I'm just going to keep every ticket and just see what happens. Like he did some really innovative things.
Well, we have business people in our line of work too. There's comedians and then there's like really great business people.
Yeah.
And it's not always a crossover.
Right. Exactly. How they coming up with it. And so then, and then he, they kind of were trying to make him a movie star. It didn't happen. Then he had the brother that stole all his money, which I felt was really sad.
Yeah, whenever that happens.
And listen, there is a big age difference here. Whatever. Hopefully they are happy.
Years.
And when he's 70 and she's 30, they're going to have a good time. How many years is this?
25.
Wait. I guess it's not that many.
It's a significant gap. It could be a dad.
25,
it's not even a teen
25
dad.
is a lot. The age thing is always, and everybody can attest to this when I say it. There can be great relationships with this much of an age difference. It really can be. But what I have found with my friends that have married someone significantly older, 51 is a lot different than 68. So like now in 17 years, she'll be in her early mid 40s. Right. That is really young. That is, you're fit, you look good, you can do anything. And now your spouse is a lot older. That's the only thing. Like I think you can have a fun connection at 24 and 51. I can. And I think you could even but I think that's where it gets hard. So if you're one of those women and this is your choice, like make the most of it, but and have the best time, but just be aware that like it can be difficult.
Yeah, I'm not a marriage person in general because I can't imagine like making a decision for myself that would last potentially what is supposed to be a lifetime.
Right, it's a lifetime.
Yeah, so how do I picture that if I don't know? I mean,
you're right. Who are we to judge? Who are we to judge?
No, but I mean, this is a significant gap. To me, like I've had male comics friends ask me, I'm dating this, they're 40 and they're like, I'm dating this young girl. What do you think? Or something. I'm like, how old is she? I'm 26. I say, I think you're dating your emotional intelligence capacity. I think you're 26 in the head. That's what I think.
Also, I remember a comic saying to me that, and I thought it was so funny. And he was like, oh, he's finally doing well, but he's like my age. And he's like, and, the car broker brings the car over, and the wife that he's been with for 25 years and they have like a great marriage was like, oh, cool, nice, good for you, And he's like, now, if I had some like sugar baby 24-year-old and I'm like, hey, baby, coming over to pick you up in the Ferrari or whatever, she'd be like filming it like, this is what you get when you date a daddy who can tell a joke and be all excited about it. And so I'm like, I get why sometimes guys want to date that girl that's going to be like, and it means nothing to him to buy her, an $1,200 pair of shoes. That's nothing. But she's like, I'm going to wear the shoes and come over and screw you and do a TikTok about it. And, this is my feminism. And that's fine. But I can see why those relationships work because a guy is like, I just want someone to I just want my wife or girlfriend to be excited about what a fucking stud I am. And the woman that I got with since I was 25 who saw me struggle as a feature and has seen me be a dick sometimes isn't going to be as excited about the fact that I made it in this Ferrari, you know?
About my car in general.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
There is like a naivete and sort of lack of access and means to get those things. So they're going to be impressed and thankful and at least, I don't know, but then there's plenty of girls who expect these things or I don't know. I guess it depends on the person. But it is a huge age gap.
Yes.
I've only done 9 years apart and that felt big.
You were the younger or the older?
I've done both ways.
Oh.
26, I was dating a 34-year-old and it was a massive age gap, it felt at the time. And
that
then,
seems like nothing to me.
Yeah. And then I dated a younger person who ultimately was a very loving relationship. Like I think we really loved each other, but I just said we're in different places, you know? And I think he often had to like sort of pretend to be more mature or like grounded than he was.
Did you ever date someone that wasn't in the business and you brought them to a show and you either loved their reaction or you didn't love their reaction?
Yes. I feel like Nick, who's tattooed on my back, didn't love being around comics who were always on.
Okay.
Even though he's a very funny person. And this is early days for me.
Yeah.
I wanted him to come around and have fun. And I'm not the comic who always needs to be on. But I wanted him to come and be funny himself and enjoy it and add to the conversation. But I think he was put off by what he interpreted as one-upping each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was disappointing.
But but what about when you've been on stage? Like, did you ever have like a great set or not a great set, and the reaction of your partner at the time was either positive or good for you?
I can't think of anything like a strong reaction to that.
Yeah.
Like an experience. I can think of several examples with different boyfriends where they're like, "No, it wasn't as bad as you think," or like, "Come on, you thinking you bombing is not bombing."
Right.
Like, come on, like sort of tough love me.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
It was kind of nice. I think I'd rather honesty, but maybe that is his honesty. And I'm very hard on myself. I'm a perfectionist. So
wait, I just remembered my Dane Cook story.
Please.
So I went to do the Tom Green show. He had like a talk show at the time.
Oddville? No,
what do you mean
Tom
Oddville?
Green show. Oh, wait.
No, Tom Green. You know, like Drew Barrymore's ex-husband. Okay.
Yeah, okay, the Tom Green show.
And it was just to promote my special on Showtime. This is 2014. This is a long time ago. And it was my first special. I only have 2. Anyway, that was being paid for, but I also made no money off of it. So anyway, he was there. And at the time, he was doing a Showtime special too, but they moved mine up because he needed more time to edit or whatever. So then mine was going to be, so we were both promoting it there, or doing 2 different shows or whatever. And I go, oh, whatever, I took your spot. Now you took mine in October, but I have a special too, coming out. And I just remember he goes, you have a stand-up special on Showtime? And I go, yeah, August, whatever it was. And he's like, God, they're just giving them to everyone now.
That's so rude.
And he wasn't joking.
Well, of course he wasn't, because that's not funny. That's so rude. I see, this is also, it's sort of like,
and I think I probably went, haha.
I think,
yeah,
that's a terribly rude thing to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of the time when I was writing on Crashing, and they kept saying, like, do you want to be in it? When I'm a writer on a show, I'm not the person constantly pushing myself for a role. I think that's annoying.
Okay.
I think when other people do it, it really bothers me. However, I could probably take a page out of their book and be like, maybe I would be good for this, and actually push myself. Well, I didn't. And I was like happy to be a part of it or something. But eventually I wrote on 1 and 2, and then I left to do something else, right on I Love You, America for Sarah. Yeah. And end of season 2 is coming. I haven't been in anything. And they were like, we want to get you in something. And then the finale of season 2 is the roast. So I was like, and I hate roasts. It's not my vibe.
Me neither.
Yeah. So
it's like too mean.
I don't like it.
It's too mean, and then they have to be mean to you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
no desire. Mm-hmm. And they said that's kind of what it came down to. It was like truly, we're down to the wire here.
Yeah.
Beth, do you want to be a judge in roast battle in this episode? And I was like, fine, I guess. I'm not gonna. I wasn't mad, but I was also like reluctant. Okay. I'm not good at that, but okay. And also, I'm not a famous person to judge roast battle.
Okay.
Well, I sit down, and it was Artie Lang, who was one of the stars of the show.
Right.
Jeff Ross, and me. And Jeff is like, what are you doing here? Similarly to Dane. He was like, why are you here? And I just said, they couldn't get Chelsea Handler. And then I didn't really talk to him the rest of the time. I'm like, what do you mean, why am I here? I don't want to be here either. I think this whole thing that you do is stupid. It's like weird and mean. And like we roast the ones we love. I'm like, no, you don't. You're thinking of chaotic, terrible, cruel things to hurt someone so you can see their reaction and see if they can bounce back quick enough to say something cruel to you. I've watched roasts that are just like,
I want to say I was on the right side of history when I was horrified at the roast of Pamela Anderson.
I don't even remember that one.
I remember because now everybody is like stand for Pamela Anderson and that she, but when I watched this years ago and she did it and the comments were all about what a slut she was, her vagina, everything. And I remember watching this and being like, she has 2 sons. Like she's a mom. Like what? This is awful. How much did she get paid? Who would agree to do this? Like,
yeah, it's terrible.
It was like, and everything, whether it was Joan Rivers or whatever, every woman that was being roasted, and then every joke about any woman on the panel always had to do with their age, their sluttiness, and the circumference of their giant vagina.
Yeah. It's very unoriginal.
But then someone could go, yeah, and then women got up there and talked about tiny penises, whatever. It's 2 things you can't really change. If you're born with a tiny penis, there's not a lot you can do except for plastic surgery. And if you're born with
really good at cunnilingus.
Yeah, exactly. So make the most of it.
Get really good at that skill.
Yeah.
And everybody will love you and continue to want to see you. Get good with your mouth and hands if you have a tiny dick.
Yeah, make the most of it.
But also, I will say, of course, like for example, Natasha Leggero's performance on, I think it was the Bieber roast, is phenomenal.
So good.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So
and Whitney
I'm not saying we don't love roasts
or
something in the way that, and that seems unfair, right? Because Bieber's a person too. But for whatever reason, those jokes that she wrote, like this is why I'm not saying down with roasts because sometimes they can obviously be very skillful. But I think isn't that the key though? That it is a famous person because you can kind of pull these sort of bigger ideas, not like Heather's mom killed herself after her dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, what the fuck? Why would you research the most traumatic event in my life and then say it into a microphone in front of, like, I'm not a famous person. Like, if it's like, Ariana licked a donut, it's like, okay, who cares? Not like, and when your mom got AIDS and died and you were holding her hand, she was like, I don't even love you. And everyone's like, how is this funny to anybody? I'm just baffled sometimes by the cruelty of those, like and that's what it was in that season was no name comics roasting each other because that's what roast battle is on a Tuesday night at the Comedy Store.
Right. Just
finding.
I also think anytime someone says as you enter a room or party, whatever, Beth, what are you doing here? Like.
How did you get in?
How did you get invited to this party with these people that shouldn't know who you are? It's the rudest thing to say to anybody.
I know, it just stuck with me. I'm like, there's just so many ways that you could have not said that.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? Even just pretending you don't know who I am. That's fun too.
Yeah.
But I had met him plenty of times. Anywho.
Yeah, real.
I thought of something else, but I can't really.
Well, listen, girl.
Remember that.
Let's talk about
roasts.
How they can follow you, watch you, where your dates are. Tell it all. October 3rd is anytime after October 3rd. You can watch it on Netflix.
That's right. It's called If You Didn't Want Me Then. And
why did you name it that?
It's one of the punchlines in the special.
Oh,
and I shot it in my hometown.
I love it. If you didn't want me then, I like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can find my dates at bethstelling.com. And I'm on all the social medias. And I am touring this fall, so I could be in a city near you.
I love it.
And I think that's it. I don't know. Now that the strike is lifted, I feel like I could say the other things I do, but.
Oh, okay. Do you hope to get on a show? Now you said you want to act or you only want to write or what?
I do. I've been lucky enough to kind of bounce around and do it all. Yeah. I wrote on Strange Planet, which is an Apple show that's out right now, and did a little voice on that.
Okay.
And, well, I was on Rutherford Falls, which is a great show. I was on Peacock, but it only has 2 seasons and it's done.
Oh.
So I'd like to promote that. It shouldn't be canceled. Let's bring it back. Put it on regular NBC.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Dead. I don't know.
Do you have any big goal? I don't really.
Now that you're asking.
I don't. When people say that, I'm like, I'm really happy. If this is the best it gets, I'm pretty happy. But you're younger than I am, so like, do you have a goal? Not that I'm old, but like, I just, do you have it? Like when I was younger, I always wanted to be a mom in a sitcom.
Okay.
I don't want that anymore. I don't care.
Okay.
But like that was one of the things that I would say, like I imagined myself
Okay.
doing at some point, like getting an Emmy.
It is tough to say what you really want because I think sometimes I'll tamp down those things because I want to temper my expectations for myself.
No, that's the opposite of the secret in manifesting. You're supposed to say, I want it, I'm going to get it, and now I'm going to achieve it.
See it, I want it, I got it. Where do I see myself in 5 years?
It's see it, believe it, achieve it, or something like that.
Believe it, achieve it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I guess it's going to be cheesy, but it's like I just want to keep making like good work.
Yeah.
I like putting out specials that are special, that I worked really hard on, that people can enjoy.
Yes.
So I want to do great work. I've written shows before, so I guess I would like to get one of the shows I've written made.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to star in it. It's not exactly the most important thing to me, but I think it could be fun.
Yes.
And I want to do this documentary called Stelling v. Porn. And
what's that about?
I'm just going to sue porn.
But you're going to what?
I'm going to sue porn.
Why?
For damages to my hoot and my relationships.
Wait, would it be like a mockumentary? Or
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that would be fun.
I think that is a fun idea.
And I don't know, I got a little movie idea. I just got to write it.
Yeah.
But I like how my career has been. I like writing on television. I love doing punch-up on movies. And I get to tour as a stand-up. I guess it would be fun to have my tours be small theaters. Like I do like a smaller crowd. Like my dream isn't arenas, to be honest with you. It's just not.
It's not mine either. It's never going to happen. But it's
I've
also
been
not
lucky
my
enough
dream.
to open for people in them, and that's a cool experience.
It is. You love it?
Yeah, open for Mulaney, like I think it was last May or something, whenever that was. And that's a really cool experience.
Right.
But I really like, I don't know, maybe it's because I feel safer, but I like being in small crowds amongst people. I don't even like high stages.
Yeah.
What about you? What are your dreams?
Well, it is nice to do shows in a theater.
Yeah.
Just because it's quieter and like there's less going on and there's less distractions.
Totally.
So as a performer,
and
that is
one
nice. Yeah.
Well, I guess you could do two.
Well, sometimes you do too. Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I always love it. It's the anticipation before, like, oh my gosh, a little bit of stress. Is it sold out? Is this that? But when I'm actually doing it and leading up to like the couple hours before, I get really excited in a good way. And I feel very satisfied after.
Yeah.
And all of it, yeah, I love it. I'm grateful that we get to do this.
Same.
And then I'll be working on my charity, billboards for
female comics.
Yes.
Coming soon.
Absolutely.
Let me be first.
Yes.
We need it soon. We need an angel investor for that.
Right. All right, awesome. Well, thank you, Beth.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
you.
me.
Bye.
Bye.